There's a bit in Matthew's Gospel where Jesus asks his disciples, what are people saying? What's the gospel? What do people think? Well, the disciples come back with several different answers, but the general consensus was that Jesus was a prophet, someone who was speaking God's message. And overall, people had a very positive opinion about Jesus. You'd get a similar result if you asked the same question today. Most people would say Jesus was a good person, or a great teacher, or even a miracle worker. Again, people have a generally positive opinion about Jesus. Now, most people back then didn't actually know very much about Jesus. And it's the same these days. Almost everyone knows the rough idea of the Christmas story and some ideas about Easter, but for a lot of people, the rest of it is pretty hazy. And so people end up projecting their own ideas onto Jesus. They'll see what they want to see, and it's just like this building that's behind me. People can end up seeing things that aren't really there. Now, after the disciples had told Jesus what everyone else was saying, Jesus asked them for their own opinion. Who do you say that I am? And Peter answered, you are the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Quite a few of us would agree with Peter. We do think that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. But Jesus isn't just asking the disciples who they think he is. Jesus is asking the disciples, who do you think you're following? And that's a much more challenging question, isn't it? It's one thing for us to say we believe that Jesus is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. But what Jesus is really asking is, who do you think you're following? Anyway, Jesus tells Peter that he's given the right answer. And then Jesus tells him that he's going to give Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven. Over the last 2,000 years, many people have wondered exactly what those keys are and what they might unlock. But the location that this story occurs in can give us a clue. Jesus and the disciples are north of Israel, the Promised Land. And in the next week or so, Jesus and some of the disciples are going to have an experience of God on a mountaintop. More than 1,000 years before, Moses and the Israelites had had an experience of God on a mountaintop. And then they'd approached the Promised Land from the south, and they were looking forward to claiming a land of their own since God had released them from slavery in Egypt. And so the keys of the kingdom of heaven are about freedom and liberation, about being released from whatever has enslaved us. We might not be literal slaves, but there are lots of things we can be enslaved to. Addictions, obsessions like our jobs, our possessions, our families, or our relationships. But the most insidious thing we can be enslaved to is ourselves. We can feel as though we're free, and we are free. This is a free country. We can do whatever we want. But we aren't really free. We end up curved in on ourselves. We can be like these silos behind me, strong and resilient, but in the end we're stuck, and we're trapped, and we're not going anywhere. And that's what the keys represent. That's what Jesus offers. The freedom to reach far beyond our own little worlds. The freedom to be part of what God is doing. The freedom to be part of something that truly matters. So that's why Jesus' question is so important. Not just who he is the Messiah, the Son of the living God. But the real question is, are we willing to go where Jesus leads us? Who do we think we're following?